Hello, friends. We are back. I mean, it's like the podcast has been going, but it feels like we haven't just openly sat down and just shared what's been going on behind the scenes at the Carmichael household and in the Carmichael empire. It's been quite a wild ride this year, personally and professionally, and it's really had me going a lot inward to focus on my own inner child and my own healing after coming back from the retreat. Our assistant said to us, we still haven't even heard your recap on all the transformation and the healing that happened back in Colorado. And we happen to be going to Costa Rica next year for the Goddess Retreat. We haven't even shared about that. So there's so many things that have been going on that we just haven't even slowed down enough to share on the podcast. So I felt like today was a good time to just chit chat and have a good heart to heart.
Hey, we're Britt and Chris Carmichael, and you're listening to the Elevated Life Podcast. Throughout the 16 years we've been together, we've never ceased in our endless quest to better ourselves.
We've studied top experts, philosophers, and gurus. After years of personal self-experimentation and working with thousands of clients, we've found the tools for shifting your beliefs, moving through fears, and developing a positive mindset that aligns with your authenticity, integrity, and soul purpose, regardless of your past.
If you're ready for a breakthrough, then you're in the right place, because we're here to empower you to take control of your life with simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation.
We'll be diving into topics like personal growth, health, philosophy, spirituality, relationships, success, and mindfulness. We don't shy away from the taboo topics like sex, hypnosis, meditation, and exploring altered states of consciousness.
So create some space for yourself and get comfy. It's time to become the badass you were born to be.
You know, I think it's really important for us to sometimes just slow down. Life can take on such a big pace, especially if you're ambitious, especially if you have any kind of goals, and then you can forget to live, forget to enjoy the moment, forget to just kind of rest for a second and be like, well, what the hell all are we doing right now? Like, holy smokes. And so if you're one of those ambitious people, take a slow down time, especially if you have a partner or someone who does the business with you or someone who's just sort of doing life with you. Get around that person and sit down and just have a really good conversation with them and ask them, where are we? What are we doing? And where really are we going?
I think it's always important to check in. We, of course, live by the 7 or above rule. And without referencing or checking in or reassessing your life, you'll never know if you're living in alignment, because what you chose 1 year ago, 6 months ago, 5 years ago, and you are living in that habit now may not even be in alignment with what you want and where you want to be going. So it's so important for us to challenge our habits, challenge our beliefs. And that's kind of what I feel like has been going on since I've gotten back from the retreat. There was so much inner child healing work that we did. Of course, we work through the chakras at every retreat, and every single time it's completely different with what comes up. You know, one story comes to mind that we did. Chris was leading us through this inner child hypnosis meditation. And one of the women shared that she had this image that involved her childhood dog. And what was crazy this year, I had all the women bring a picture of their younger self and put it on our altar for that sacred, safe space. And the craziest thing happened the next morning. She came to the circle and brought the picture that she had chosen from her inner child work, and the picture was with her and that dog, and a huge story came up around it. So it was just really fascinating how everyone's healing from the past really was amplified. I feel like a light was shown on everyone's shadows were brought to the surface at this retreat.
All right, this is something huge that Britt's tapping into that I think is overlooked. It's commonly overlooked, especially anyone who's on a healing journey or overcoming something, and that is the fact that change actually is pretty easy. It's the readiness for change that's really hard. It's actually getting to a point in your life where you actually say, okay, enough's enough. Well, I'm done with it. I want the change and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. That part's hard. Getting to that in your mind and saying that, because you're going to be something new. You're going to go into a lot of unknown territory. You are used to being one specific person, and then suddenly when you go through a healing journey, you're different. You're different because you see yourself and you see the world and specifically your past, and now because of that, your future. You see them all different. So the world's different to you. The other part that people don't talk about that is extremely difficult, and to me probably the most difficult part, is the integration. So getting to readiness for change is hard. The actual change is pretty much a joke. There's a lot of modalities now. We've figured out a lot of different ways to help people. There's a lot of this stuff. The integration, the coming back into regular life, the trying to go and be this new person who you're now becoming.
In probably the same environment that you left originally from.
Everything's the same. It's like you've gotten superpowers now because you believe in yourself. You've
it's like
let
a
go of certain
fucking
things.
hermit crab, right? Like you're finding your new shell.
And so you got to look around. And so that part is really tough. And, it's great right now because we're in the summertime. And so, the light's coming up before 7 a.m. It's going down at 9 p.m. You can still see a little bit. And so it's incredible to be where we are because it's a high energy state. But you have to remember, like I said, in those high energy states is to make sure you pull back a little bit. Pull back to integrate. I love we go full bore all summer long. I mean, it's almost like a full sprint. I mean, I'm high energy today. I've been feeling higher energy because I'm spending more time out in the sun. I'm just letting myself soak up as much light and as much energy as I can. And so it gives me a lot. It gives me a lot of juice to go on for the day. And so I have to remember that there needs to be a moment, either every day, especially every week, that I slow down and get back to myself and rest a little bit and give myself the kind of lay down time, the kind of recuperation that I know I need.
I mean, as soon as we got back from the retreat, we had all these plans, continue writing on the book, work on the Sweet Life program for hairstylists, blah, 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 host the Summer Solstice event, which is still happening. But everything else on the calendar literally got a red tag and it says move to 2024. I realized that, spending more time in rest is something that I personally want and need in my life at this moment. And I actually have the time and space to do so. I feel like for me, a big realization in my perspective as a business owner and someone who runs multiple businesses is that I've been in this hustle mode of working and helping and wanting to serve and putting and producing and putting it out there and putting it out there. And there's been times of rest along the way, but I really want to spend a longer time, like months of just rest period. And I know that that's not necessarily practical or possible for every single person, but I've worked so fucking hard that I actually have the time and the space to be able to slow things down. But the hardest part is actually getting a lot of those prior commitments and engagements either worked through or delegated off or completely deleted. And so my integration has been finding that new balance of what do I actually want to commit to? And here's our 7 or above rule in that reassessment, and what is not necessary at this time. Not that I don't love some of the projects that we are moving to a later time. It's just right now for me, spending more time in self-care, slowing down and really getting intentional with rest and receiving, finding that next step and clarity. When you're going through a chapter change and you don't have all the next steps planned, it's not about rushing or hustling or pushing through to make something happen because we're idle. I actually want to embrace and fully receive this moment of actually slowing down.
I think that's going to be something that a lot of us come to in the future. We're going to realize that one of the big things that's killing us all off is stress. I mean, it's us being turned on too much. And we don't allow ourselves the amount of relaxation that's really required. I mean, I've always said that I think that the worst invention that ever happened was the light bulb. I mean, having a light bulb and making it so that we can't live by the light that comes from outside is crazy because we push and push and push ourselves. And I think that's why we're over caffeinated at this point. We
burnt out,
overstimulated, burnt out, and we're just like, we're finding that there's less joy in always pushing on. Doesn't mean that success isn't great. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't achieve things. It just does mean that it comes with a little extra. There's a little extra sauce behind it that a lot of people don't talk about. It's easy to get sold on the marketing, easy to get sold on the glitz and the glam of being something, and instead of realizing that moderation, and so much the key to life is moderation. It's realizing when to go forward and realizing when to hold back.
Gosh, it's making me think of our recent trip to visit, shout out to Monica and Vic in Virginia. They took us on a road trip over to West Virginia to check out some of these really awesome resorts, the Greenbrier and the Omni Homestead, some of the oldest resorts in America. It was absolutely incredible.
1700s.
1766, this place was built. Like, what was going on back then? I want to know, to build something that that large. Anyway, look it up. It was an incredible experience. But we stopped intuitively. We were on our way home. We had a long drive ahead of us, and we intuitively stopped at this antique shop. And this guy comes hobbling down the stairs, and he's got really bloodshot eyes. They're kind of yellow. He's real shaky, and it's just his shirt's inside out and backwards. A sweet love, it was just a really interesting experience. And he starts walking us through what happens to be the oldest structure in West Virginia that was built. He acquired this a few years ago. And as we're looking through these 3 different houses on his property of antiques, $35,000 table here, $4,000 mirror over here. At one point, he's like, "You want me to take you down in the basement and show you Jeffrey the giraffe?" I'm like, nope. That actually sounds like the start of a horror movie. So we're just going to stay above ground and just check out all your things. But during our time there, he really opened up. And, I truly felt guided there because I could sense that his wife had passed, and he opened up and shared that she had, and that they chose to have no kids, and that he worked his whole life so hard all the time, and that essentially he's now living alone with millions of dollars of antiques, no one to share his life with, and he's suffering from dementia and a lot of other ailments that has him kind of on the brink of his last chapter. And it was just a really surreal moment to fast forward in time to think about what happens to the people that work really fucking hard and then don't surround themselves with community, with people to share life with. That was a moment that I think I'll always remember. That was so random. And you guys you and Vic bolted. You're like, okay, y'all have fun. That could have been really interesting.
Well, once we were in the 3rd room of antiques, and I'd seen, once you're at least for a guy, maybe it's just for me, once I've seen a room full of antiques, once we get onto the next room, it almost looks like I repeated myself. So when we were on room number 3 and it was all dog portraits that were like $1 million a piece, I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. I think it's raining. It was a thing. I mean, it was old. I don't know. It was. I was ready to get out of there. But what was interesting was what he said, and I think it's just so important to really assess where you are in life and what your priorities are. Again, I'm all about go get that jingle. I'm all about building your business up and creating something for the future. But you always have to weigh out what the expense is. Weigh out, am I just going to be doing this for a couple of years? Is this going to be my whole life? Am I taking vacations regularly? Am I exploring the world? Am I pursuing hobbies, reading books? Am I spending enough time with my friends, my family, my spouses? I remember some of the guys that I went to.
Spouses? How many do you have?
Listen, sometimes you have a few. You got that one extra in Arkansas, just in case. You just got to just in case. But it's so good, and right now is a great time. I always like to think about the year as like one long garden season, right? Because in the spring you're going to plant, and the summer's going to start growing, and the fall you're going to harvest, right? And in the winter it's dead. And so I like to think of
it's hibernating.
I like to think of the things that I'm doing in terms of that. So when you get to summertime, what you're thinking is, what did I plant my ass off in spring? Because we committed to a lot. We said that we would do a lot. The year planned out that we did at the beginning was
laughable.
I mean, if
we were ambitious,
if there were 15 of us, it might get done. And so it's really important that, okay, did I overgrow? Are some of these crops overgrowing into my other crops? Is something starting to take over that I didn't mean to have? Did this become a huge responsibility? Is there some outside force that's affecting it and coming in on my track, or someone taking all my stuff? You have to really sit down, take a break and sit down and look over everything. That's what we're doing right now, is
simplifying.
Taking that big pullback where you have that 40,000 foot view and you're looking down and going, oh, damn, are we doing the right stuff?
I mean, halfway through the year, this is the perfect time to reassess.
Yeah, right. Coming in on the solstice, this is a great time because you can always pivot, because there are some projects that we started that I love. I am way into, and some topics that we said, hey, what do you think about doing this? Which I know we need to do more of. I'm like, we didn't do enough of that yet. We got to do more of that. And so we're restructuring. This is a time of restructuring. And I don't mean just you drop everything. What I mean is you replan out your day. Once you have the day planned out correctly, everything falls into place.
It's that morning routine.
The morning routine on top of the evening routine. If you don't have those two things licked in your life, that's your homework for this week. Sit down. We like to do it on a Sunday when nothing's going on, because Sundays are
it's sacred.
Shut it down, right?
Shut it down Sundays.
Shut it down Sunday. So we are sitting down and just literally itemizing every single thing and planning out what the perfect morning is, planning out what the perfect evening is, and then how much we need to commit per day, week, and month on our projects to get done what we literally can get done and push aside what we can't. Because I don't want to be frustrated. I don't want to be like, oh, we can keep doing this, we can keep doing that, and you get burned out. Once you're trying to create new ideas all the time, once you're trying to come up with new thoughts, new items, new products, new stuff like that, it takes a big energetic toll. And sometimes that can carry over and spill over into other things that you're doing in your life. And so you want to make sure that you're doing enough and balancing out of each thing. It's easy to get so excited about a project. I know that's one thing that we have always done. You come up with an idea and sprint at it. And I'm sitting back there still going, wait, well, what about this thing? I mean, are you sure there's still road where you're running? Like, you might just fall off. But you're definitely a sprint toward it. And there's such a huge level of excitement. And sometimes that excitement can be like, oh, damn, that's a lot. That's really a lot to run this thing, to do that, to do life stuff.
Are you talking about the summer solstice?
Absolutely not. To me, the summer solstice is like the event, because I think for a lot of people, especially women, there aren't enough events where you can meet people who are into the same cool stuff that you are, where there's not a husband and there's not a bunch of kids. Because normally those things come along when we go out.
Distractions.
When we go out with friends, that's not like, where are you going to go spend time with a bunch of people and a bunch of businesses that care genuinely about you? It's not. It's not like a free event where anybody can show up and anybody can come. This is an event where it's like a certain culture that comes. It's certain kind of people that care about their business, that spend locally. It's that they care about what the community's doing and where things are going, and they've thought it through. They put their money where their mouth is. They really want to be involved, and it's different. If you ever go to like just a holistic fair, you walk around, you're like, what is half this stuff? Like, why are so many of these people here? And that kid just wiped his boogers on me. It's just that feeling. So to me, the solstice event is the perfect thing to come to. I love it. I'm super down.
Yeah, it's been such a fun project. And honestly, it's taken up so much of my creative focus that it's made me so excited to just zero in on this one project, that everything else, like creating Oracle deck number 2, out, writing book, out, making course that's been sitting in there in drafts for 6 years, out. Like, it's really about following where the passion is. And as generators, both Chris and I in human design are generators. So it's really about what lights you up. So when we talk about the 7 or above rule, before we even knew what our human design was, we were already on that notion of only following the things that really fill you up, that make you feel good, that are a 7 or above. And so for me, planning the summer solstice has been such a divinely inspired passion project of mine, that I wanted to take the healing and the transformation of like all 7 days that we have in Colorado or wherever we go. Going to Costa Rica next. What? I'm so excited. First international retreat. But I wanted to take the healing transformative powers from these retreats and bring them to a one-day experience and local to my own community. I'm always hosting these free full moon gatherings. I've been doing it for the last 5 years. And I've always wanted to create more, like a longer experience where food is included, live music, getting to connect with other businesses and other like-minded souls, and really just tapping into the holistic experience of healing. Transformation isn't just in a physical aspect or a mental, it's a mind, body, spirit, full body connection. And so this day was designed to walk through the workshops that we teach at the retreat and the physical practice that we do to heal the body, the mental meditations that we use, and tapping into the soul by getting clear and connected with ourselves and with our people. So I'm very excited about this upcoming project. So I haven't really said anything about Costa Rica because my focus has been so much on what's that next thing right in front of me, like really living in that present moment to moment experience.
It's so important that you've narrowed down on what specifically you want to focus in on at a given moment. Because if you have too many things, your brain gets scattered. For me, I'm the worst multitasker. when Britt and I work next to each other, we have two desks that are side by side, and we work next to each other. I have noise canceling headphones that I wear pretty much at all times because Britt loves to ask me questions.
Making a ruckus.
Yeah, she'll be playing stuff. She's always doing. I mean, Britt is one of those. She lived in a place where there was a bunch of people always. You know, being at Britt's family's house, there's someone in and out of the door. Like I don't even know if the door's locked because someone's in and out. If it just
Mom just told us she doesn't even own a key to her own house.
I love it. I love it. And so Brits used to allow noises. And for me, I grew up sort of by myself. And so I'm used to it being quiet. And so like you have to just know, like what's going to be going on.
The environment.
Yeah. The environment's so important. And speaking of what we've been doing lately, that's been different. It's been bigger. We've always done this, but not to the extent that we're doing it now. And it's mainly because we are teaching coming up in the Elevated Life Membership Club on natural healing. So this is going to be a lot of things for your body, a lot of things for your mind, a lot of things for your environment, how to really improve all of that. And so that's what we've been on that kick huge because I went back and looked at all of my old notes, all the things that I discovered back in the day when we realized that Brit can't have any kind of artificial fragrances. Holy smokes, you wouldn't realize how many products you own.
Why I sound like this today?
with artificial stuff in it. Like I used to have all these colognes and I always wondered why in good colognes too. Like the good, like people turn and stop you wherever you go and go, damn, you smell good. Like they just, women love certain colognes, and I figured out what those colognes were. And so I would wear them, and Britt would be like, oh my God, you smell so good. And then she'd sneeze the whole night. And let me tell you what does not happen when someone's sneezing nonstop.
Sexy time.
Anything in the bedroom is out. If the person's sneezing and coughing, it's over. And so we have been dialing in on what we're doing with our body, especially big time on what we're eating. We just recently got a Azure Standard. This is a grocery store that's online. And it's a out of Oregon, and they basically have a drop-off point. So it's not like a local store. You go down to Tom Thumb or Kroger.
It's all organic, non-GMO.
All organic, incredible. Holy smokes! And it's all their own.
Great pricing.
And you can buy in bulk, which is something big for me because I buy 25-pound bags of oats. I mean, you can get like 50 and 100-pound kind of stuff. I mean, it's wild.
I think we're feeding a horse over here.
Yeah, I like to eat, but I like to eat really healthy food. Like it's so many people dial in on just calories or just carbs or just protein and stuff like that, and they're missing out on how important the quality of the food, how the food's grown, the kind of love that's put into it. A lot of people are missing things like that. So we're really excited because we have a live training coming up, and I can't wait to tell people what we've discovered because there are some holes in our game, which I did not think that there were, big holes that I was missing, and has already drastically improved just in the way that I sleep and the way that I feel. My energy levels have been sky high lately, like I said. And it's not just the sun. It's some extra things that we've been doing because of this that are...
Like scanning everything with an EMF reader?
Dude, I mean, I went the distance. I went the distance so I could figure out what really does work, what's kind of, hocus pocus, like a lot of people are trying to sell. And like where does the rubber meet the road so that people can start... And most of these are cheap. Most of them are so inexpensive or free. We're just not naturally doing them, or they're not normally. It's kind of on the fringe. But man, the health practice is really incredible to learn about.
Yeah, I'm excited for this month's topic in the Elevated Life Club because really living that 7 or above life mentally, but also environmentally, like what you're putting in your body, what you're surrounding yourself with, the chemicals, the toxins, they're fucking everywhere. I think I say to Chris every day, man, they're just really trying to poison us, huh? Between the water, the food, the air, it's just nonstop. The sugar, the pharmaceuticals, it is warfare out there. So I think it's very important for you to become your own advocate. Actually, we've got Dr. Jennifer Bontrager, who will be a guest speaker at the Summer Solstice, is teaching on that very topic, becoming your own advocate, knowing how to speak up for yourself, take healing and health into your own hands.
You know what I love about her? What I love about good doctors, and here's how you know when you have a good doctor or any kind of person, licensed medical professional, whatever, in your back pocket. Here's how you know, is that they don't want to see you all the damn time. Like the goal of your doctor should be so that you don't come in. Like unless you have something broken or something crazy that happens, yeah, of course. But if you shouldn't have regular stuff. They should educate you well enough so that you don't have to show up. Like why do you have to go to the doctor all the time? Like you should be able to cure a lot of things in your own body with the food, with the exercise, with the way you breathe. Lots of things you can be doing.
The thoughts.
Yeah, it's so important to have someone who isn't like, hey, well, I'll see you tomorrow. Like,
Here's
hey,
another pill.
I'll see you next week. It's really good to have those people who go like, well, let me show you some of the things that you can naturally be doing in your house so that you don't have to do this.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of natural health, natural healing, the other thing you should talk about that you have been nonstop on trying to get everyone to do it, electroculture.
Electroculture. Holy smokes. Listen, this is the most... Okay.
Oh boy, everybody take a seat.
So one of the big things that we want to start doing more is gardening. Now, I've talked about this on the podcast before. One of the big things I'm learning right now is about gardening. And I always go deep. I get all whatever the top books are, but then I like to explore some of the not top books. Not that they're written poorly, but that, have authors that nobody knows.
The fringe.
Electroculture. Electroculture means what they typically do is that you take like a wooden stake or a branch that's outside. It's even better if it's a branch from your own property because it's near you. You wrap it with a copper wire in a coil going up. You stick some of that coil into the ground and let some go up above the stick in an antenna. You can do this with plants on a patio. It doesn't have to be into the ground, but just stick in the soil right there. It produces an electrical current. You can actually test it. So it's not, again, not hocus pocus. It creates the ether. It attracts the ether to the plant, and the plants grow bigger in size. And apparently people have been doing this for several hundred years.
Without chemicals, pesticides.
No fertilizers.
Nutrients.
And people have been able to reclaim their plants or have something. I love seeing if you'll look up when people do the side-by-side comparisons, here's one grown regularly, here's grown with electroculture. The electroculture one looks at least double or even triple. It's a lot of times how these people, besides using crazy pesticides and fertilizers, grow these abnormally large pumpkins or lettuce or squash or things like that where you see them as big as the person. A lot of times they were doing that with electroculture. We just never taught this
That's
stuff.
some Nikola Tesla shit.
It's wild. You're literally wrapping copper wire and harnessing what's already going on in the environment. Things like that to me are so cool because they're different. It's something different than just going down and buying Miracle-Gro and then hoping and praying that you're not poisoning yourself at all. When you look at the ingredients on the back of these bags, which is literally one of the things that I find so many people not doing, look at what you're consuming. Look at what you're touching. Look at what's going into your body. What's going on in your water.
You'd be surprised to see how many seed oils are hidden in all the foods. Well, not even hidden. They're right there.
I am amazed at how freely people will put or consume something and never turn it over and look at what it actually is. It's so long as it's at a grocery store or a convenience store or somewhere someone will sell it to you, then it's okay for your body to have. And it's not. A lot of the stuff, this is not very well regulated. There are a lot of things out in the market in the United States that they've banned in other countries. There's only over 30,000 chemicals that were banned in Europe that we are yeah, go ahead and put them in there. It's fine. No big deal. Same with cosmetics. There's no ban on hardly anything. You can just throw crap in there a lot of times. It's what is going on? And people do it because it's fillers. People do it because you can charge more for the product because it seems like there is more. It has been a few months of me researching hardcore again into all of this that has reminded me of how strange some of business practices are. We're always trying to be above board. We want people to enjoy great things, and the fact that a lot of people are just bottom lining it is tough. It's tough to stomach. As being a part of the collective. It's why would we do that? The money's not that important. It's how's our health? How do we feel? I don't know. It's wild to me.
It really is about the quality, like we talked about earlier. It's not just the amount of calories you're eating, but what is the quality of the calorie that you're eating? It's the same with everything in life. What you're surrounding yourself with, what you're consuming. I feel like you have something.
All right, last thought on that. And it's because so much of what we do now is geared around the way it looks. For example, a lot of people do lower calorie diets because the only thing they're trying to do is look less fat. Right? They want to have a thinner, leaner body. And what's weird about that is that doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy. There was a professor that I read about, I can't remember if he's Harvard or Yale, but he only ate Twinkies at a calorie deficit for his body and perfectly lost weight. Just on Twinkies. Looked healthier, visibly looked healthier. Was not healthier, but looked that way, right? Same way with yoga. So many people, you go on Instagram or something like that, and you watch people do yoga, and you're like, oh my gosh, look at them doing this wild gymnastics. Look at this business. Beautiful. This Cirque du Soleil doesn't do it this well. And then you think to yourself, well, I can't do yoga because I can't do all those cool things. when the thing that matters about yoga is how quiet your mind is. Yoga doesn't have to do that much with postures. That's just a very, very teeny tiny, small fraction pebble of a sand kind of a deal. And so it's not always the way things seem. It's not always the way things look. We have to always go deeper than the surface. It's like thinking about the iceberg. We're just, 1/7 of the iceberg sticks out of the water. Everything is down beneath it. You have to go down beneath. You have to start exploring these depths about the things that are happening and going on in your life.
I feel like that phrase, that iceberg phrase, makes me want to open the can of worms on Titanic and all the conspiracy behind that.
Next episode.
We'll save that for another date. So June is really geared up for, setting aside time to rest and have fun. Obviously, I've got, as someone who's hosting a big event for people to come and rest and have fun, there's a little bit of there's a lot of bit of back end work, which shout out to Go Team Carmichael for all the help and support in bringing this together. It's been so cool to just connect with the community again, to reach out to local vendors, to shine a light on different services that have helped to support me in my life and my growth and my journey to wellness. I am so excited to get to bring those people, thinking about Dr. Jennifer Bontrager. She sat in my hair chair for the last decade, and we have dreamt up and talked about this very moment for so many years, about bringing women together and helping them to empower them to heal and to find their voice again and speak up for themselves and just reclaim their confidence. It's really cool to see this dream coming to fruition. So for me, June is really about reevaluating what is working, what's 7 or above in my life, finding the quality over quantity. Chris, you've always said 4 quarters rather than 100 pennies, and I'm applying that to everything in my life, except for my closet.
Oh boy.
They're all quarters. There's 100 quarters in here.
A lot of silver dollars.
There's 100 quarters. Oh, isn't it just so fun? We get to come and hang out in the closet and just share our ideas and what's going on in the world and our life.
It's beautiful. This is it's an intimate setting. I love pulling people into the conversation because the things that nourish me the most are having conversation with people, just talking with people, and it doesn't have to be really anything specific. It just being around people. I feel like that's what we realized during 2020 action. Was that us being around friends and family is just so the key to life. It matters a lot. And just being able to be in their energy and not soaking up their energy, not trying to be an energy vampire, just being in it, not being around them, nothing extra.
Well, when we went to the Brendan Burchard High Performance Academy, we learned that the number one commonality in all the people living to the longest life, getting to the oldest age, their commonality was their relationships and connections with people. And that really stood out to me. Out of all the things in high performance and be better and do better and work harder and not smarter. No, work smarter, not harder. Jesus. Hello, dyslexia. Aren't you cute? So all of the things that we learned in that conference, that is still the thing that sits in the back of my mind, is building those genuine, deep connections. And actually, right before my dad passed, he had said to us, keep it deep, when he was talking about making sure that you have those deep, intimate conversations with people, which he wasn't great at. So it was really nice for him to start to finally open up and share his vulnerable side and to say something like that, how important it is to actually have those conversations.
So as we roll out of here, we're going to leave you with a couple ideas. And that one is, take a look at where you are when you're on your relationships. Take a look at who you're keeping close to you, who matters to you, and are you telling them? Are you letting them know on a regular basis? And just remember that even if you think you're letting them know, they might not know it. So a little extra appreciation goes a hell of a long way. The other thing is, what are you spending your time on right now? Where have you been spending your energy, and is it still worth it? Is it still worth it to you? Is it still giving you the same kind of pizzazz that it was? And just remember, anything that you do, there's going to be obstacles. So there's going to be parts that are in a lull. There's going to be tough spots. There's going to be mistakes and failures along the way. That doesn't mean that you quit. That means you get re-excited about why you're doing it at all. You're always going to tap back into that grit part of yourself that says, this was made for us. This is something that we should be doing. I've been designing my entire life. I've lived this way. I've overcome the things I've overcome so that I can be here. It's my time. So where are you spending that time, though? Where are you needing to cut back? And think about that. Get your partner involved. Get your kids involved. Let the people around you know, hey, we're going to trim the fat. We're going to let go of some of the things that we don't need. It's summertime. time to cut back.
Yeah, make sure you're doing fun shit this summer. Last year, we recorded a podcast called The Summer of Fun, and we went on a 2-week road trip up to Montana to Glacier National Park, Yellowstone, Wyoming. It was just so much fun. So make sure that you do something fun, whether it's local or you get out and you go explore something new. It's just important during this time that you go on an adventure, whether that adventure is to join us at the Summer Solstice in McKinney, Texas on June 21st, or hey, if you want to hang out virtually, you can join us inside the Elevated Life Club and catch the Natural Masterclass. Or if you just need to get away by yourself, with the family, with a friend, I think it's so important for you to really figure out what it is you need and then just do it. Do it for yourself. Take action. Don't hold back. If you're looking for a sign, this is it. Until then, we'll catch you next week.
Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Elevated Life podcast. If you loved this episode, please share that love by leaving us a 5-star review and spreading the good vibes on social. You can tag us at the Elevated Life Club. Want more wisdom from us? Become an elevator by joining us inside our monthly membership club at theelevatedlifeclub.com to discover mindset upgrades, lifestyle hacks, and spiritual tools to elevate your soul.
Each month features a live group coaching masterclass, guided meditations, yoga practice, and more to help you transform your life one step at a time.
It has all the tools, coaching, and community you need to level up, progress every month, and keep going in every area of your life consistently over the long term.
Join us in the club and start your transformation today by signing up at theelevatedlifeclub.com.